If you've ever thought you can't be something because of who you are now, or you think that your current person conflicts with the thing that you want to be, we're going to talk about how you can fix that and some things to watch out for coming up. What's up, guys? Tim Ruswick here, and today I want to talk about identity because I think personal identity it really comes into play whenever you're doing something new or you're trying something new or you're building. And I know we recently had a video about game design theory and talking about the game identity, and that kind of got me thinking, about my personal identity and the struggles that I've had with those. But also, I just did an interview with Chris DeLeon, and he's awesome, and that should be up soon. But we got into that a little bit. We started talking about who you think you are and how it affects the way that you interact with the world, and how it can hold you back. And I was like, wow, like this is really something that I gotta talk about because for a long time my identity kept me back from different things. When for a long time I would think that I was a programmer, right? Like in my mind I said, hey, I'm a programmer. Programmers don't do what? They don't do art. They don't do sound. They don't do that. They just program. And so because my self identity was a programmer, it was locked in that role. I couldn't be any of these other things that I wanted to be. I couldn't try these other things. And that kept me back for a long time, right? But I think it went way beyond just a skill set lock. It went way beyond just something that stopped me from progressing into different skill sets. For a long time, when I was in the startup world and I was working with my marketing company, I was building pieces of technology. I had worked on myself with some self improvement stuff and some books and courses and stuff, and I was like, you know what, I want to be a successful startup like billionaire. I want to be like a Mark Zuckerberg or like a one of these guys that sells their company for billions of dollars. And I worked really hard at that, and I built my identity around that idea. And when it didn't happen, like I remember I had one specific goal. I was supposed to be a millionaire by the time I was 26. That was a goal that I worked on for years and years and years. I wanted that so bad. And when it didn't happen, because my identity was like this successful startup genius, right? When it didn't happen, I started to like feel really inadequate, feel like I was faking something. And in a way, I kind of was, because everything I would post on Facebook, everything I post on Twitter, was all about, being successful, success quotes. And I have to pretend like I was the cool guy, I had the cool car, I had the cool office. And I just felt like because became my identity, because like I had ingrained it in my head that I was this person, it stopped me from being anything else. It stopped me from being just me, like it stopped me from just existing. And I actually remember a really dark time in my life when shit kind of collapsed on me, and I lost my office. I lost like I couldn't pay my credit card bills. My bank account was overdrawn. My car got repossessed. I was pretty much homeless. And I remember actually the day that my car got repossessed, because I was like, for so long, I had tied my identity to this cool muscle car that I had. And it was the coolest thing on the planet. And I loved that car. And when I would drive up to meetings, people would see this car and they would just be like, wow, that guy's cool, at least in my head anyway. But that was my identity at that point. I was the guy that drove the cool, expensive car. And I remember the day the car got repossessed. At first, it was like denial, right? Like, no, that didn't happen. Did it get stolen? Did I park it somewhere? What happened? But then it all started to sink in on me because now I'm just a guy. I'm just I'm just a dude. I don't have anything at all in this world. my identity can't be tied to a thing anymore. And it was like this weird, it was all like chaos and panic before that, but like it was like after the car got taken, that was like the last little piece of that old identity that I had, and it was like I almost felt like it was an opportunity to reinvent myself and to, because I didn't have a place to live, because I didn't have a car, because I didn't have bills anymore, because they all went to shit, they all went to debt collectors. I felt like I was so low that I could finally become anything that I wanted to become. Now, I don't recommend that you do that, right? Like those are very hard learned lessons. But I see a lot of the friends that I went to high school with, a lot of dudes that I met along my journey in life. They are the same people that they always were, and because they're around the same people, they have to act the same way because these people know them, they expect them to act the same way, and the people that you're around reinforce the behaviors that they know and that they're comfortable with. If you're around, people that want you to do a certain thing, when you start doing things that they don't like, they don't reinforce that behavior. They tell you you're crazy, they tell you overthink things, like they'll say things that lead you to believe that you are not on the right path. So reinventing yourself and your self-identity is really hard, especially if you think of yourself as a certain thing. Like another great example of this, I mean, besides like this whole major self-identity, was for a long time I self-identified as an introvert, right? I put myself in that introvert box. I still say it sometimes, like I'm an introvert. But for a long time, that label stopped me from going out and interacting with people. It stopped me from networking. It stopped me from talking to people and communicating and making friends. I would use it as an excuse because I was this thing, and it didn't matter what anyone else said. I was this thing, so I couldn't be those other things. And this shit is deep, man. It really is. Like, you got to really think about what you think about yourself. You got to really analyze that, like who you think you are and why, because you can have limiting beliefs without even knowing it. Like most people wouldn't say believing that you're an introvert is a limiting belief, but in my case it was. Most people wouldn't say believing that you're a programmer was a limiting belief, but in my case it was. There was one point I used to make music. I used to be a rapper. I used to love writing poetry and lyrics and putting them over beats and like mixing the music together and all that. And when I moved to LA and I started my marketing company, I would tell people, like as a joke but serious, I would be like, well, you can't be a rapper and a marketing consultant at the same time. Ha ha ha. Like it was something funny. But now that I look back at that, like, holy shit, that made me stop producing music. That made me stop writing poetry because I thought that this marketing consultant and this rapper could not coexist in the same space. Same thing with programming and art. I thought because I was a programmer, I could not also be an artist. And you got to understand that you are way more than that. You are way more than who you think you are. We like to put people in boxes, right? Like we like to say, he's a car guy. Whatever. Like she likes shoes, or like we box them into these kind of identities, right? Like he's shy, he's a programmer, and then we make assumptions based on the stereotypes of those boxes, and we do that to ourselves too. And it's really dangerous because you are so much more than that. They are so much more than that. At least they can be. You can be all these things at once. Like, I think back to all the times that I wanted to create stuff, and I stopped myself because I thought I wasn't that. Like, I have developed software. I've written poetry. I've made rap music. I have written books. I'm writing a book. I have written blog articles. I have made YouTube videos. I've edited together short, funny skits, created that kind of stuff. I've built hardware modifications. I've built robots. I've done so many different things. And for me to call myself a programmer or put myself in one of these boxes, right? I think doesn't do justice to me. And I want to share that with you because I want to make sure that you are not doing it to yourself. I've had conversations with people where I tell them that I make games, right? Because that's the terminology used. I don't like to say I am a game developer. I like to say I make games because that's one of the things that I do. And I don't want to like limit my identity, but they'll say something like, "Oh, I wish I could make a game." And I'll be like, "No, dude, you can." And then they'll reply with like, "Oh, I'm an accountant though. Like I'm not technically illiterate. I don't I don't know all that techie stuff." And when they respond like that, it always kind of like hurts me inside because it's like you are whatever you say you are. There's no barrier stopping you. The only thing that's stopping you is you telling yourself that you're not that. What if you told yourself you were that? What if you said, I'm a game developer, and then you started and you became one? Like, you can do it. Anybody can do it. And that's pretty much what I wanted to say is just be careful with your self-identity because it can stop you from doing a lot of things that you want to do, but it can also start you doing a lot of great things too. And I know for me, like having that experience of like shattering my self-identity without my permission was really powerful for me because it allowed me to reinvent myself and ultimately end up on a screen in front of you. Like I wouldn't be here had I not changed my identity from what it was to what it is. And it takes a lot of work to get to the point where you can share some of this stuff, right? Like this is deeply personal stuff. I don't want you guys to know I went broke. I don't want you guys to know my shit got repossessed and all that happened. Like that's not stuff I want to share. But I share it because I feel like it's important. Because I feel like there are people that are held back because of who they think they are. And I don't that's the last thing I want to hold you back, right? Like get held back on picking an engine or something like that. Like don't get held back because you just don't believe that you can do it because you can. So just be really careful when you any word that follows I am. Just be conscious of that. Just be conscious of that. Whether you say I am lazy or I am whatever, you got to be careful with how you perceive yourself because those beliefs matter. They make an impact on the things that you do and how you interact with the world. So that's it. That's my message for today. Hope you found it useful. If you did, please leave me a comment below. If you have a self-identity, post it below. I would love to hear how you guys think of yourselves, and I think it'd be interesting to kind of see. So, till next time, I'm Tim Ruswick, and I'll see you guys next time.